What's up everybody, it's RobinGaming here. So I want to quickly start this video off by saying if you're watching this video in the first couple of hours that it goes live, I am actually live streaming right now on my Twitch channel, which you can find at twitch.tv/robinoyo. And not just that, but I'll be going back to the good old days. I'm going to be playing on the old school PlayStation 3. Actually Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3 multiplayer are going to be included there. Gonna stream both of them for around an hour maybe, possibly play some other favorite games of me from the past generation as well. It's just gonna be great fun. I'd like to invite you to come around and have fun. It's gonna be great, you know. I'm just gonna return to, yeah, like I said, the good old days, playing some of my favorite games. And all in all, I can't wait. Come and have fun at twitch.tv/robinoyo. But for now, I would like to get into the actual topic for this video. So, Uncharted 4 news, it's been pretty silent around the game, and that's pretty understandable because, of course, E3 is coming up in about a month from now, and I'm sure that's really when it's gonna start taking off, because the time between E3 and then the actual release in spring 2016, it's not too big. It's really where they're going to start showing us more gameplay, maybe do a multiplayer reveal soon, more actual trailers and stuff that tells us what the game is really about. This is really the time where it's gonna start, and I am so excited for E3 because I think we're going to get an amazing gameplay demo of about 10 minutes showing us this epic set piece or anything they've got in store for us, including just some more information what the game is actually about, which characters are going to return, to return, that kind of stuff. But for now, I actually wanted to talk about an interview that was given earlier this week by Scherr and Cambier, who are the writer and lead designer on Uncharted 4 at Naughty Dog, of course. And they talked a bit about the technology. That's pretty much what we gotta do it with for now. But yeah, like I said, more exciting stuff is definitely gonna come soon. But nonetheless, I picked some quotes from the interview that they gave that I thought were very interesting, and I just wanted to discuss in this video. So let's immediately get into the first part, where they talked a bit about the graphical comparison between the early stages of the new generation and then the late stages, pretty much in a couple of years, what games are going to look like. So I'm going to quote them by saying, if you look at the first Uncharted and how that looked versus how The Last of Us looked, I have difficulty fathoming that we'll have that kind of graphical leap in the next several years. But the reality is we probably will, as we learn the systems better, so it's all up from here, and that's exciting. Of course, he makes a very valid point here, because you look at Uncharted Drake's Fortune, you compare it to The Last of Us, and I think the difference is quite big, even though both games came out on the same platform. That being said, I don't want to be the complete Uncharted 2 fanboy once again or something, but I do feel like the PlayStation 3 already kind of like hit its peak close to 2009, 2010 in terms of just what the graphics look like for games. Because yeah, you look at stuff like Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, maybe Killzone 3 that came out somewhere 2010 or early 2011, I think it was. Yeah, that's really where those graphics almost reached their absolute maximum. And I honestly think that, games like GTA 5, Uncharted 3, The Last of Us, they all look great. And yeah, they're maybe a slight step up from the games I just mentioned before. I personally don't think the step is still that big, so I do kind of feel like, it's just going to be a couple of years until we see the PS4 hit its maximum, and then in the years leading up to that, where, it's still going to be a while till the next generation is there. Yeah, I think that developers are going to build upon that, but is it really going to look that much better? I don't know. I don't really know, but yeah, you have to tell me in the comments. What do you think of the sort of like graphical, difference between games like Last of Us that came out at the end of the generation, and then Uncharted 1 at the beginning, and Uncharted 2 at the, in pretty much the middle of the generation, I guess. So the next thing I'd like to talk about is what Naughty Dog said about what they think is pretty much the secret success formula behind the Uncharted series. So once again, I'm going to quote them. They said, "We know staying in control creates a sense of adventure in the player. You think of some of the biggest moments in the franchise's history, like the train scene in Uncharted 2, the airplay sequence in Uncharted 3. The player gets to be hands-on with all those, all the way through. That's something that is fairly unique. So now, after 3 games, we've got a taste for that, especially after exploring the more intimate side of adventure as a studio with The Last of Us. We want to get those big moments and make them a little bit more emotional, connected, more personable." I think they make a very valid point here, and I was thinking about this very recently. Is like, with Uncharted 3, those set pieces went absolutely through the roof. Drake fell out of a plane, while it was crashing and stuff, and he managed to survive. There was a sinking ship turning 90 degrees, there was a burning shadow. how exactly are you going to one-up that in the next Uncharted game? And I think this time around they're going to go for a more personal, emotional, connected adventure and approach, and that's of course what they described here, because it just makes sense, you know. You can't possibly really go all out in terms of the set pieces, because I feel they've already done that with some of the previous games, and it's going to be hard to think of stuff that is going to be even better. And I don't just think it's big explosions and awesome set pieces that make the game, it's also those emotional moments and the actual story in itself. I personally still feel, you know, Uncharted 2 was the best Uncharted game. I think many people will agree with me on this, and although Uncharted 3 did have the bigger set pieces, you can see that that did not make the game better. No, it just added some more awesome, you know, things to it, and it was definitely, you know, I'm once again saying those set pieces were definitely better than what we saw in Uncharted 2, but it doesn't make the overall game better necessarily. So I really agree with Naughty Dog's approach on this one. Last of all, they talked a bit about just how they're going to make the story more emotional, and that's of course by enhancing the technology. So what they said about the facial structure and the technology they use for the character models is, they said before faces had 100 bones, now the faces have anywhere between 300 and 500. This lets us get much more detail and fidelity in there, so you can really empathize with what the characters are saying, and it allows us to hit certain poses that we couldn't quite hit before. It all allows us to tell our stories better, to animate our characters better, so we hope it's going to be something you all notice rather than just the technical marvel, something that really ties into the characters and emotion in the game. So once again, I'm gonna have to say I agree with them on this. It does make the game stand out a little more. You look at all these details that they added with the previous games. I remember in Uncharted 3 when Drake was kind of like all of a sudden touching the walls that he passed along. It just adds so much more, I don't know, personality to the character, and you don't see it out there. They talked a bit about, you know, third person and first person, why they choose for a third person approach instead of first person, and that is simply because if you're playing a first person game, you don't feel as attached to the character. You just feel, oh yeah, it's you, but there's not really, you know, much involved there. You don't see the character going through the actual, you know, thing he's going through, right? You don't see his face, you don't see what he's actually facing right now, and you don't see him react to the overall situation. No, it's just you controlling the character, and I think it really adds to just how awesome of an experience, you know, the game itself is by making all of these little details stand out so much, and I think that's really awesome. We didn't really get an update on the frame rate yet. You know, right now I think what was said most recently was, yeah, they're still aiming for 60 frames. The game has been delayed, so there's a bigger chance they're going to achieve it. The demo that we saw, the PlayStation Experience event, ran at about 30 frames, but that said, they did already have a build that ran at, I think, about 38 frames per second. They just locked it to 30 for the demo itself, so it's still going to be a bit of a question, you know, what is the frame rate going to be? Is it going to lock at, or like run at an unlocked frame rate, or is it just going to be 30 frames locked? Maybe higher frame rate for multiplayer would be pretty awesome, because that's definitely what needs it a little more. But yeah, with that being said, these were all pretty much the, you know, the updates that we got on Uncharted 4 for now. Once again, it's all really technical and stuff. It's not really about what we can expect from the story yet, but once again, I think we're going to see a lot at E3 this year. It's just going to be a month left, and then we're going to get this epic demo, most likely with a trailer, seeing what characters will return, what the story is going to be about. I am super excited for it, and then I think I pretty much talked about everything I wanted to talk about in this video. So once again, I hope you enjoyed it. Come and have fun. Check out the stream on Twitch right now, twitch.tv/robinoyo. Follow me there if you want updates for you know, possible future streams. And then with that being said, let me know what you thought about this in the comments, and I'd like to thank you a lot for watching, and hope to see you again next time.